Hey guys, and welcome back to the Professor Oak Challenge in Fire Ash. After we took on the Hoenn League and the Battle Frontier, now we are in the Sinnoh region, looking for new adventures. We start our journey on Route 202, north of Sandgem Town. Here we encounter our first Pokemon in the region, Ash Starly from the anime. In the high grass there are wild Bidoof, Badoo, Staravia, Buneary and Chatto here, which we all take with us to fill the pokedex. When fishing here, we also get Bidoof's evolution, Bibarel. One less Pokemon to evolve. Great! Heading to Sandgem was my next goal, and to see what the boundaries are. We run into Dawn and her Piplup, but she won't let us pass for now. In Professor Roan's lab, we have a little encounter with a guy named Paul, one of our rivals in this region. Taking care of his level 4 Starly, in this pretty unbalanced burp fight, he rushes out of the lab and we speak to the professor. He offers us to take Piplup with us, which he calls nothing special. That's pretty rude, but hey, it's a free Piplup. Dawn now let us pass after a quick battle. But before we continue north, let's head to the original starting town of the Sinnoh region, Twinleaf Town. Nothing special here, but we can collect our first plate. Those are scattered around the region, and as in the mainline games, used by Arceus to change types. Returning back to Sandgem and heading to Jubilife City, we run into an iconic Turtwig, our next starter Pokemon in the region. Welcome to the team. In Jubilife City I battled Brock and tried out what my options are from now on. The gate west is blocked for now, but the north and east exits are both free to pass. And so I headed north, first into Route 204. I caught a Pachirisu, Kricketot and a holy Shinx here, before hitting the dead end. East of Jubilife, we are now on Route 203, where Paul intercepts us for a battle. And after putting him in his place, we are free to continue to Oreburgh Gate. On the way I picked up another plate and exited to Oreburgh City. Not much here to do for us, so my next goal was to speak with Rogue in the mines to get him back to the gym. The same as in the mainline games. I found him, he gifted me a skull fossil, and returned back to his gym. Before now getting rid of our evolutions, before taking on him, there's more that we can do. A tiny bit of Route 207 in the north is open to us, and in the high grass area I caught a Hippopotas. In Cinnabar Island I revived the fossil, getting a Cranidos. And now the fun part begins again. Grinding Ho-Ohs on Route 1 for EXP. I may sound like a broken record a bit, but that's unfortunately how it is. As they still give the best EXP by now so far. I should have definitely kept track on how many Ho-Ohs I fought. Anyways, while being here I evolved Hippopotas into Hippowdon, Kricketot into Kricketune, Buneary into Lopunny, Turtwig into Groudle and into Torterra, Granidos into Rampardos, Piplup into Prinplup and into Empoleon, Staravia into Staraptor, Shinx into Luxio and into its final evolution, Luxray, Badoo into Rosalia and Rosalia into Roserade with a shiny stone. Whew, what a mouthful. Alright, with all of those Pokemon evolved, we can get the first badge of the region, the Coal Badge. With the first badge obtained and 434 Pokemon in the dex, we go back to Jubilife and then north again onto Route 204, with the roadblock gone. After crossing the ravaged path, we find ourselves on Route 204 again, just outside of Floroma town. We can't continue our journey here for now, so I grabbed another plate and entered the contest hall building. Dawn just won the challenge and after a quick battle with her, our journey can continue. On Route 205 I got myself a female Combi and entered Eterna Forest, just to get ambushed by Team Rocket. After sending them to the stars, I stayed here and caught 2 Burmese, one of both genders, and a Vespiquen. While crossing the forest I picked up another plate and talked with Gardenia, which returns to the gym to wait for us. Outside of the forest we are now on Route 205. We cross that route and find ourselves in Eterna City. Immediately I tested out if I can skip Gardenia's gym and, well, she can wait a tiny bit longer for me now. In case you are wondering, at the time of my recording it was the game version 2.22. With the new version it's no longer possible to skip gym leaders anymore. And while I personally like to skip the gyms now and then, I can also understand the reason behind changing it now. So yeah. At this point, a big thanks to all developers and all the wonderful people in the Fire Ash Discord server once again. The game is still worked on until this day and they all keep it alive. You should definitely check it out on your own if you haven't done it yet. Anyways, back to the challenge. With Gardenia's gym being skippable to me, I decided to go directly to Route 206. I grabbed another plate and entered Route 207 again, this time from the other side, with the route to Oreburg still blocked. Cynthia greeted me and after that I went straight for Mount Coronet. Thankfully an NPC takes us directly to Hardhome, so we do exactly that. In the city itself I grab another plate and checked out how far I can reach before the next roadblock, which wasn't that far at all. I did as the NPC told me and went for the battle hall. We register for attack battle and of course are put together with Paul as a team member. After a battle, Paul tosses his Chimchar, because it is apparently too weak for him. So we gladly take that poor Pokemon with us. What a douche. Unfortunately the attack battles aren't over yet, so we have to battle along his side for another time. As a prize we get Sooth Bells, which Paul definitely has no use for. Now that we have beaten the battle hall, Route 209 in the west is open for exploration. I got myself a Zangoose and a Spiritomb here, and met Dawn. She would like to trade an Aipom for her Buizel. Since we have a spare Aipom left, we can of course accept this trade. Solaceon Town is in the north, and they seem to have a little bit of trouble in the ruins. And so we do what we always do. Do the dirty police work. I mean, seriously, where's Officer Jenny? Inside of the ruins, who could have thought, we have another encounter with Team Rocket, which is looking for some treasure. We don't bother too much with them, and after they are sent blasting off again, we can leave Solaceon Town again. On Route 210, I did add Drifloon and Glaceon to the dex total, before I made my way west to Route 215. Here we find another plate and an iconic Gligar, alongside Glameow and Cherubi, which I gladly add to the team. Just before we reach the next city, we get intercepted by another pair of Team Rocket members. This time it's Biff and Cassidy, which, let's be honest, never stood a chance against Ho-Oh in the first place. We arrive in Veilstone, and as many of you remember from the original Sinnoh games, there's a game corner here. Time for some shopping, I would say. This way I added Snover, Gibble, Carnivine, and the most expensive Rotom in existence. I laid aside the next gym for now and went south directly onto Route 214, where I got Stunky and went fishing in Encada and a Floatzel. South of my location and at the Lake Valor, I ran into Wallace, who recommended me to join the Wallace Cup at the Valor lakefront. Going there, for a second I thought I could skip Veilstone's gym entirely, but unfortunately here all exits are blocked. And despite me meeting Wallace before, he isn't here until I beat Veilstone's gym. A pity. On my way back to Veilstone, I ran into a trainer with a shiny Dustox, which was really cool to see. But other than that, it's time for Route 1 again. Nincada evolved into Ninjask, and having a free spot on my team, into Shedinja. My female Burmy evolved into Wormadam, and my male into Mothim. Cherubi evolved into Cherrim, Drifloon into Driflim, Snover into Abomasnow, Stunky into Skunktank, Paul's Chimchar into Monferno and into Infernape, Glameow into Perugly, and Gibble into Gabite and into Garchomp, which as you can imagine took forever, as with all pseudo-legendaries. Okay, with now 31 additional Pokemon and a total of 465 Pokemon in our dex total, it is finally time to take on Veilstone's gym. After defeating Maylene, we get the Cobble Badge, but we don't have a lot of time to celebrate our victory. The whole city is overrun by Team Galactic runs. and we have to take care of that. We challenge one of their admins, Saturn, and restore the peace in the city for now. After doing so, I made my way back to the Valor lakefront. This time we are allowed to enter the contest building, where we meet up with our old friend May again. After a quick battle, the way south finally opens to us. We run into Paul again, and after putting him down to his place, we find ourselves on Route 213. In the patch of grass, luckily there's some new Pokemon, like Drapion, Krogunk and Shellos, which we add up before entering the next city. We arrive in Pastoria City, and can't enter the gym yet until we spoke with Brock. Before doing so, let's explore what we can do before getting into the gym. Route 212 is accessible, and while fishing here, I found a Gastrodon here. The rest of the route is a bit of a maze, and making my way through it, I eventually run into the original rival Gary. For the sake of old times, we battled, and I arrived at the Pokemon Mansion. There is unfortunately nothing for us to do here, and going further north, we would just end up in Hardhome. So I made my way back to Pastoria and evolved what I had. After beating Brock in the city, I bred my Drapion we caught earlier to get a Skorupi, and evolved Krogunk into Toxicroak. That is all we can do in this section, so let's take on the Pastoria gym. Defeating Crusher Wake results in us getting the third Sinnoh Badge, the Fan Badge. And with it we can continue our story through Cozy Sinnoh. Back in Hardhome, we meet up with Dawn in the front of the gym. She tells us that the gym leader was heading to Celestic Town. So that's where we should head to. After a quick battle, Dawn gives us the secret potion, which we need to get access to Celestian Town. But before we go there, actually it's detour time again. All the way back in Kanto, the Safari Zone got upgraded once more. So we checked that out first. In the zone itself, I found a couple of items and when fishing, Finneon and its evolution, Luminion. Back to Sinnoh on Route 210, north of Thalassian Town, there is a bunch of wild Psyducks, which blocks the way and won't move because of their headaches. We use the secret potion on them, and now our way to Celestic Town is open. Just before we enter the town, we run into Fantina, the Hardhome gym leader, and convince her to return back to her gym. Since we are here anyways, we can check out the nearby town of course. Only to find out that Team Rocket is causing trouble again in the ruins. After dealing with them, Cynthia approaches us again and thanks us, but the town has been overrun by Galactic team members, and we have to team up to stop them. In the science building of the town we find Saturn and Mars, which luckily never stood a chance against the power of Cynthia and Ash combined. Unfortunately, they still get the lustrous orb and leave before we can do anything. We can't bother with that for now, so we continue our journey to the region and head back to Hardhome. We run into Paul again as we leave the town, and unfortunately he doesn't seem to have learned a thing about treating the Pokemon right. Anyways, back in Hardhome, before we can take on Fantina, we run into Barry, and afterwards we take on the gym leader. For the next part, one of my trusty viewers, Stitch, will take over. Thanks Stitch, I can finally get myself a coffee now.
Fantina tells us to meet up with Brian in Canalave for the next gym. I use the teleporter system to get to Jubilife and take the west exit onto Route 218. There's a ferry to Canalave. Before we take on Brian, we get Darkrai and Cresselia. Both of them are in the south corner of the city. No more Pokemon to catch, but there's a spooky plate in the old chateau in Canalave. Beating Brian results in us getting the Mind Badge. He also gives us the Armor Fossil, which we revive into Shieldon. Before we continue for the next badge, the ferry can take us to the new location, Iron Island. Here we get an iron plate and a Master Ball just laying on the ground. A trainer with his Lucario blocks the cave entrance. His name is Riley. After we defeat him, he tells us that the aura is disturbed and that we should investigate. Team Galactic is behind it, and after defeating a few grunts, we take on the admin, Mars. Mars tells us they are trying to find Spear Pillar. We get out of the cave, and Riley gets us an egg, which eventually hatches into Really? Next, we go back to Eterna City. To the east, we can now enter 216. Here, we get Bronzor. On to 217, after interacting with an item, a Fione joins up. North at Lake Acuity, there's nothing for us yet, so we enter Snowpoint City. This is our next dead end. We can talk to our rival Paul and Brandon in front of the Snowpoint Temple, but we are not allowed to enter yet, so Regigigas is not available right now. Before we take on Snowpoint Gem, we need to evolve our Pokemon. Bronzor into Bronzong after 1 rare candy, Shieldon into Bastiodon at level 40, Riolu into Lucario with enough happiness during the daylight. After that, we take on the gym leader Candace to get the Sinnoh Badge with 482 Pokemon registered.
We get the Icicle Badge from Candace, and when leaving Snowpoint City, Luca will speak to us about Team Galactic. Their plans seem to come together, and we have to find a way to stop them. But for now, Sunny Shore is our next goal. Passing by Lake Acuity, we run into Paul once more, and after defeating him, he tells us that he's on his way for Sunny Shore as well. All the way back at the Valor Lakefront, the east exit is now open, and so we make our way onto Route 222. Here's another trainer with a shiny Ditto this time. Besides that, we found another one of Ash's iconic Pokemon, Gible. And before reaching Sunny Shore, we pass out. Brock, Dawn and I wake up in a cave and realize that Team Galactic is about to finalize their plans. So we have to stop them once and for all. Dawn and Brock take down the Grunts, while I need to take on the admins. After stopping Team Galactic, we are now free to capture the Sinnoh box art legendaries, Dialga and Palkia, which shouldn't be too painful if you bring enough heavy balls and patience. After saving the world, we find ourselves on Route 222 again. I decided to explore north and ran into a mansion, where there's Team Rocket again, and I sent them blasting off. Hold on a second, I remember that from the anime. Did I just kick James out of his own mansion? Oopsie. Anyways, back to Route 222, we find ourselves the last Hoenn Pokemon missing, Rayquaza, waiting for us to battle it. We of course do, and add it as Pokemon number 485 to our dex total. Also, the Hoenn dex is complete now. After another battle with Barry, we can finally enter the last city of Sinnoh, Sunny Shore. There's also a market here which sells all evolution stones, something which will come in handy for sure. The gym leader, Faulkner, isn't in his gym, and we find him at the Sunny Shore Tower, together with Flint from the Elite Four. After battling Flint, Faulkner seemed to find his motivation to be a gym leader again, and is now ready for us to fight him. We battle him, but unfortunately we have to stop because there's trouble at the Sunny Shore Tower again. We find out that it's Team Rocket, and of course, after a short intermission, our battle with Faulkner can continue, resulting in us getting the Beacon Badge. It is almost time for us to take on the Sinnoh League, but before we approach the ship, there's Dawn, which wants to battle us again. Before we actually take the ship to the League, there's some more things for us to do. At the Sunny Shore Tower there's an NPC which offers us to take us to the Sinnoh Lakes, this time to get the Lake Guardians. We do that and go to Lake Valor to capture Azelf, Lake Verity to get Mispirit, and Lake Acuity to get Uxie. But wait, there's more. Outside of Sunny Shore on Route 222, 2 more legendaries appear on the beach side, them being Heatran and Shaman. All the way back in Hearthome, the friendly NPC who took us over the mountains now offers us to teleport us to the top of Mount Coronet, where we actually find Giratina, which makes a great addition to our Pokedex. Regigigas unfortunately is still not available to us, so I made my way back to Sunny Shore and took the boat to the Lily of the Valley, where the Sinnoh League is located. We enter the building and after a quick chat with Barry, register for the battles. We have our first, second and third battle, before we encounter Paul as our 4th match. Our last battle will be Tobias, with his team consisting of Darkrai and Latios. And even though we beat him in this timeline, we still only managed to place in the top 4. That was a fun trip, but for now let's head home to Pallet Town. We get greeted by the excited townsfolk of Pallet Town, and after speaking to them, I made my way to Oak. He tells us about a new region, Unova, a place far away, where we can take on the League. Also, we get a pair of new clothes again. To get to Unova, we should take the blimp in Viridian City. But before we do that, there's still some Pokemon we can get. Returning back to Sinnoh for our last time, we can find Manaphy at Lake Verity, which we can add to the dex total. And at Lake Valor, the Pokemon god itself, Arceus. Arceus, well, more or less voluntarily joins up. It didn't have no other choice anyways. And after we do a final trip to Snowpoint City, Brandon gives us Regigigas. And with now 494 Pokemon in our Pokedex registered, we can finally take the blimp in Viridian City to get to Unova. And so, after a short time, we arrive in Nuvema Town, after around 86 in-game hours from the start. So, what Pokemon are actually missing now? Well, none. At this point we have completed the Kanto, Johto, Hoenn and Sinnoh decks, and even have some more exotic Pokemon like Sylveon already in our decks. I hope you liked the series so far, and stay tuned for the next episode. If you liked or didn't like the video and want to tell me, please feel free to leave a comment. Until the next time, see ya!